you're thinking about getting a wind synthesizer, and you've heard that there's a new model on the market, the Roland AE-20. Is this the right one for you? Let's find out. Welcome back to another video, and this will be my deeper dive into the Roland Aerophone AE-20. As usual, there'll be chapter markers across the bottom. They'll be in the description below as well. You'll also find some links to the Roland support pages and to my own website and mailing list if you'd like to sign up to that. It's been just over 5 years now since Roland started to get into the wind synth market, and things have been going from strength to strength. Let's look at the physical aspects first of this new aerophone. So it's about 25 inches long and about 5 inches wide at its widest point. It has this central white strip down the middle. It's kind of almost like an ivory white, almost a slightly pearlescent sort of finish to it. And then the rest of the body is black. Doesn't seem to pick up finger marks too much. And in the center, of course, we've got the keys. They're a kind of grey nickel. For saxophone players, those keys are laid out pretty nicely. They're going to feel familiar. There's always going to be small changes to the saxophone you might be used to, but it's going to be very quick and easy for you to get into the fingering. We've got the front F key, bis B flat, top F sharp key, the palm keys, the side keys, everything that the saxophone player would be used to. Now, what about if you've played a little bit of flute or clarinet? Or what about if you play a brass instrument? What about if you have some sort of disability and really you're only capable of using one hand fluently? Well, this instrument can cater for all of those people as well. There's flute fingering, there's recorder fingering, there's clarinet fingering, there's brass fingering, and you can even play all of the notes on this instrument just with the right hand or just with the left hand. Let's look a little bit further then. On the back of the instrument, we've got several extra controls. Now, I need to emphasize the point that this instrument really covers quite a wide range of users. It's actually an excellent starter wind instrument if you've never played one before, because although it's incredibly capable of an instrument, it's actually very easy to get on with as well. Here I've just switched it on. I can select my sound by pressing the scene button here, up or down. I can select my category of sound with the dial here on the right. I've got a volume control below that. And then if I want to, I can dig deeper into the menu by pressing the menu button and then just navigating right or left to make all sorts of menu and customizations if I want to. We've got some other controls. Of course, these are the octave keys here at the back. This aerophone has a range of 7 or 8 octaves, so you'll have no problem there with the range of notes. 2 small buttons here, they called the S1 and S2 buttons. Just think of those as extra switches. You can use those to turn things on, like maybe make a harmony effect, or maybe you'd like to add some reverb or delay. They can be set up on those switches there if you want to. And the other control we have is this thumb lever here. Now, by default, that's going to make your sound go up or down slightly in pitch, but in the menu, you can pretty much make that lever do whatever you like. So plenty of options there, but in a nice and easy, clear layout, very easy to understand if this is the first wind synthesizer you've come to. Of course, we've got a really nice clear menu screen here as well. This is going to tell you what bank of sounds you're in, the sound you're using, whether the instrument is transposed or not. It's also going to tell you what your battery life is looking like. All the information that you need is there. Okay, then let's look at what else we've got. On the side here of the instrument, there's the USB-C port. Most equipment nowadays is coming up with USB-C connections, so that's a really nice, easy connection to have. You can use this to make updates to the Aerophone, of which there's most likely going to be plenty of them, because Roland always make quite a lot of updates to their instruments as they're going. And of course you'll be able to load in extra sounds. By the way, this instrument is compatible with the Roland Cloud. If you're not sure what that is, think of it as a huge library of extra sounds. Now, on the other side, let me just turn around this way. We've got the DC power in. We've got the on-off switch, 2 LED lights, one to tell you whether the instrument is turned on or off, and the other one is the Bluetooth connection. And then a mini jack for your headphones. This little switch here is to do with connecting to an outside source, like a computer or something like a sound module. And by the way, we can operate this instrument on batteries. It uses 6 AA batteries under the battery cover here. It's recommended that you use rechargeable batteries. The other really nice feature we have is these 2 little inbuilt speakers on each shoulder of the instrument. Now, they're not really intended to work like the sort of bell on a saxophone. You never want to play in public using these speakers, really. The idea is they're just for quick little reference practice sessions, because we've got a proper 1/4-inch jack out here to send the sound out to an amplifier. And of course, as I've said, you can plug your headphones into this as well. So please don't go into a shop and audition this instrument just listening to these little speakers. Always take your headphones or use an amplifier. Roland have always made a case to come with their wind synths, and you know, this one is another pretty nice case. It has got a pouch on the front for various accessories. It's got carry handles and a back strap there, which is really useful. It has a zip here to open up, and the Aerophone is secured inside by a couple of kind of Velcro covered straps. Looking a little bit deeper into this instrument in terms of its control, customization. Well, firstly, at the top here we have what looks like a saxophone mouthpiece. It even has a reed there at the top. Now that reed isn't a cane reed like on a saxophone. It's a plastic reed that actually covers a tiny little sensor inside the mouthpiece, because this system here detects how hard or how soft you're blowing, and it can also detect the very fine movements of your lips. This can control things like vibrato. That's when a player can make that undulating sound to add a real warmth and colour to the sound. And of course you can use it to change pitch as well. So if we want to bend a note higher or lower, which again gives a lot of authenticity to a sound. So great control there. Those sensors, by the way, are super quick sensors. So if you are a more advanced player and you're wanting to articulate the notes very quickly, say particularly maybe with a sort of percussion sound or something, you'll find that this responds really quickly and really well. On these instruments, you've actually got a key that moves and presses up and down. On some wind synthesizers, you don't have that. And to answer the question on people's lips, which is about key noise compared to the Aerophone Pro, well, we'll do this in another video, but just to give you a quick example here. I think it's much improved over the Aerophone Pro. The other thing is we've got a really good balance here. Because of the length of this instrument, I feel like the balance is actually a little bit more comfortable over the Aerophone Pro. But basically, if you're a first timer to a wind synth, or if you just want to play this as an additional instrument to your saxophone, you're going to get on with this really quickly and you're going to get some great sounds out of it as well. That's because it actually has two different sound engines built right in. The first one is what Roland call the supernatural sound engine. Now, this is a set of sounds, instrumental sounds, so wind instrument sounds, brass sounds, string sounds, percussion sounds. Now, all of these sounds have been very cleverly set up by Roland to imitate acoustic instruments. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're a saxophone player and you play the saxophone sound on this instrument, you're probably not going to be terribly impressed with it. If you're a saxophone player and you want to imitate the sound of a flute, maybe a clarinet, maybe a violin, maybe a muted trumpet, then this is going to give you the opportunity to do that pretty well because of those supernatural sounds. You see, it's not just one sound in those supernatural sounds. There are all sorts of additional layers of sounds in there as well. So for instance, on a trumpet sound, a trumpet can make that very traditional kind of falling sound. This instrument will imitate that for you as well. Percussion instruments might play just one hit on an instrument or might have a roll. Supernatural sounds can do that. Okay, in addition to the supernatural sounds, and for me, the biggest part of the sound engine, is what Roland call the Zen Core sound engine. Sounds pretty clever. Zen Core is basically a body of sounds which is going to be incorporated into many different instruments. So Roland make some flagship synthesizers called the Phantom keyboard. They are absolutely incredible. and the synthesizer sounds in there are some of the best sounds available today. This Aerophone has that same sound engine built into it as well. So what this does for us is two things. It gives us some incredibly expressive synthesizer sounds, new sounds, not trying to imitate another instrument, creating new sounds that work very well with the Aerophone. And the other thing that it can do for you is it means that you can add additional sounds into this instrument. You might want to share some sounds with people, friends, or online. You might like to subscribe to the Roland Cloud that has hundreds of sounds for the ZenCore family of instruments. You might want to make your own sounds using an app called Zenology Pro. Check out my other YouTube videos to have a closer look at what you can do with that. So essentially, it's a pretty open-ended platform because you're going to be able to add plenty of sounds. Now on board, I think they advertise about sort of 260 preset sounds. They also advertise 600 user sounds. That just means they are memory slots available for you to put your own sounds into. They might be taken from the preset sounds. They might be sounds you've shared with other players. They may be sounds that you've downloaded from the Roland Cloud. So essentially, you've got the 260 odd preset sounds, which are always going to stay there, but then you've got this huge bank of 600 sounds that you can play in whichever order you want to and keep them together in a very clever little app where it'll work as like a librarian. You can save your own sounds, make your own sounds, do whatever you'd like. There's also a feature called Favorites as well. Now this is really just a short list of 12 sounds that you've chosen. You can get to those very quickly, either using the app or the shortcuts available from the instrument. There are also two apps that are currently available in conjunction with the AE-20. The first one, which again you'll see in my other videos, is the same editor app that is available for the Aerophone Pro. Remember I said earlier about those 12 favourite scenes? Well, here they are. If you just want to very quickly switch to one of your favourite scenes, they are clearly available there. And then if you want to dig a little bit deeper, then what will happen is the app will download the information from the Aerophone. Notice this is wirelessly now, and now we can get into absolute detail with the sound and the customization features available for the AE-20. Nearly all of this is exactly the same as that Aerophone Pro. And then the other app which is available is this Aerophone Lessons app. There are various videos that you're presented with to begin with, just about how you set up the instrument and how you get connected to the instrument and so on. So let me just show you then. If I want to connect my Aerophone, I'm going to... Here's my AE-20 listed. And there it is, I've connected to my lesson app. Now, firstly, what this is going to do is it's going to teach you some notes. So as you press the notes on the Aerophone, it can tell you what the note is that you're playing and how it would be written on the musical stave. Okay, so then on from there, if you want to, you can actually start a series of lessons, which is going to start to show you things like how to play your first scales on the instrument. There are some simple tunes to start to learn, and some exercises in there as well, which is very useful. And then the other thing is that there is what they call the player here. And this is simply a backing track player, but again with some useful features. So I can load a backing track into the player, and then if I want to, I can change the volume of the backing track. I can also slow the backing track down or speed it up if I want to. And I can also even change the key of the backing track as well. So that's a really nice little app if you're a beginner player, or if you're new to the Aerophone and you want to get some technique going. This is a pretty good start. The question is the AE-20 right for you? Let's say you're a saxophone player or a wind instrument player, and you're thinking about possibly getting one for the first time. Well, if you've done a little bit of playing on a wind instrument, I would say that those lower priced Aerophones, the AE-01 and AE-05, you might feel a little bit restricted with those fairly soon. The AE-10 looks like it's going to be phased out now because this instrument is not too much more expensive to buy than the AE-10. I believe this is going to be about €1,000. That's about £830 in the UK. I would definitely say this is the one that should be at the top of the list. You might have also looked at some other wind synths, you know, things like the Yamaha YDS. Well, yep, that's great as a kind of saxophone type practicing instrument, but you know, it just doesn't have the quality of breath sensor, doesn't even have a bite sensor at all. And the sounds, by all accounts, are a little bit limited. Some really good saxophone sounds, but not really much else on it. You'll have come across the Akai's, of course, which have been standard for many years now. What I will tell you there is, on my iSax group on Facebook, I've got an ever-increasing number of people who are coming away from the Akai and coming now onto the Roland Aerophones. Okay, so what about if you've got one of those lower priced Aerophones, an AE-01, AE-05? Well, they're great instruments if you're just a casual player and you enjoy just playing a few tunes, you don't put that much time into it, it's just a kind of recreation thing. I'd say probably stay where you are. If you're excited by all those new sounds, and particularly with the Supernatural and Zencore sounds on this instrument, you've definitely got to have a go on this one. I think you'll be absolutely blown away by the quality of sounds and the response of this instrument. And finally, what about if you've got the Pro? Well, if you've got the Pro, you're probably not going to want to lose those couple of extra benefits that you've got on the Pro, the motion sensor and the thumb pad. I don't particularly use those an awful lot, but you know, I don't want to lose those either. But this is coming a very close second with all of those Zencore sounds, supernatural sounds, in my opinion, a slightly better playing feel, quieter keywork. This has got a lot going for it. So I hope that's given you a little bit of insight from somebody that's played all the aerophones, all the EWIs. That's my opinion. What's your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments below. I'd really like to hear from you. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel and click the notification bell, please do that. There'll be another video fairly soon, which is a direct comparison AE-30 to AE-20. I might even throw in a little bit of AE-10 as well, because they are the sort of top 3 models. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope it's helped you step forward with your decision making, and I'll see you in the next video.